You won't believe what they found after the tsunami hit. Tsunamis are scary and show how powerful nature can be. What's even more frightening is what's left behind after the big waves are gone. People have found some really strange things after tsunamis, from old shrine gates to hidden ancient cities. Here's a list of 20 of the weirdest things discovered in the aftermath of tsunamis. Number 20. 60-year-old man. Now, a 60-year-old man is definitely not something you'd expect to see in the middle of debris after a tsunami, but that's what welcomed several locals in Japan back in 2011. Swept out to sea by the colossal waves, Shinkawa was found clinging to the roof of his house, floating over 9 miles off the coast of Japan. He remained in the middle of water and debris 2 days after the disaster struck. Hiramitsu Shinkawa lived in Minamisoma, Fukushima Prefecture, an area heavily impacted by the tsunami. When the tsunami warning was issued, Shinkawa and his wife initially tried to escape. However, he returned to their home to retrieve some belongings, a decision that would lead to a harrowing ordeal. The powerful tsunami waves tore their house from its foundation and swept it into the Pacific Ocean. Tragically, Shinkawa's wife was swept away in the chaos and remained missing. For 43 hours, Shinkawa survived by clinging to the roof of his house, which had become a makeshift raft. Despite the freezing temperatures and the rough sea, he managed to stay afloat. His resourcefulness was evident when he used debris to make a red flag, which he waved to attract attention. On May 13, 2011, he was spotted by a Maritime Self-Defense Forces destroyer and rescued, providing a rare moment of hope amidst widespread devastation. During his time adrift, Shinkawa had 2 bottles of nutritional drink, which he rationed carefully. He also found a helmet and a futon, which helped him protect his head from debris and keep warm. It's safe to say that he was saved not only because of his resilience but also due to luck. If he had been spotted a little later, he probably wouldn't have survived. Number 19. Tsunami detection buoy. What would you think this was if you saw this on the beach? As someone who's not really familiar with things in the ocean, I would think that this massive object was part of a spacecraft or an aircraft. However, if you're someone familiar with the sea, you probably know what this object is. This object that was swept near the small coastal town of Yachits, Oregon, is a tsunami detection buoy. This buoy was originally part of the Deep Ocean Assessment and Reporting of Tsunamis, or the DART system developed by NOAA. Astonishingly, this tsunami detection buoy was discovered by a beachgoer just hours before a tsunami warning went along the coast. Needless to say, the local who came across the buoy, Tyler Copen, was incredibly perplexed at what he was looking at. The yellow and red buoy was incredibly enormous, measuring at least 6 feet across, adorned with a solar panel and other contraptions around it. With caution, Tyler and his father contacted the authorities, who promptly identified the buoy upon seeing it. Now, usually, these buoys are tethered hundreds of miles into the ocean. Through these buoys, we're able to detect tsunamis before they even wreak havoc on the nearby shoreline. Number 18. Mountains of trash. The 2011 Tohoku earthquake and tsunami in Japan was one of the greatest disasters mankind has ever witnessed. A magnitude 9.0 earthquake struck Japan, with the epicenter located some 80 miles east of the city of Sendai, Miyagi Prefecture. This was only the beginning of the disaster. What followed was a catastrophic tsunami that produced waves up to a monstrous 132 feet high. Not only did this disaster claim the lives of over 15,500 people, but it also rendered more than 450,000 people homeless. But perhaps one of its biggest effects is the mountain of trash it sent to the ocean. Of the debris swept away, about 70% sank near the Japanese coast, but the remaining 1.5 million tons began a slow drift across the Pacific. Most of these objects still remain in the ocean. Number 17. Tori Gate. On March 22, 2013, a large wooden beam painted red was discovered on the Oregon coast by a local resident. At first glance, the local immediately recognized that he didn't stumble upon something ordinary. What he discovered was a wooden beam known as a kasagi in Japan. A kasagi is the top crosspiece of a traditional Japanese torii gate, a symbolic structure that marks the entrance to sacred Shinto shrines. This piece of debris wasn't alone. A month later, another kasagi was found about 120 meters away in Florence, Oregon. Unlike the first, this one bore an inscription in Japanese, revealing it had been dedicated to a shrine by a person named Toshimi Takahashi in 1988. Everyone who recognized the kasagi quickly recognized their importance. In hopes of finding a way to return these holy pieces, they were added to an online database for lost items, hoping to trace their origins. However, months passed and not a single soul reached out. Determined to return the kasagi, the Portland Japanese Garden took it upon themselves to trace the origins of the kasagi. The search led the garden's curator, Sadafumi Uchiyama, and other volunteers on an investigative journey to Japan. They traveled through the disaster-hit regions of Miyagi, Iwate, and Fukushima, speaking with locals and spreading the word about the lost Kasagi. Fortunately, their efforts weren't in vain. Hearing about their efforts, NHK, Japanese Broadcasting Corporation, aired a report on their search. This led to a breakthrough when Hisashi Sakai, a local historian in Iwaki City, suggested the Kasagi might belong to the Itsukushima Shrine in Hachimen-cho, Iwaki Prefecture. Finally, after months and months of fruitless search, they found a lead. They quickly communicated with the said shrine and confirmed that the Kasagi indeed belonged to them. The debris was among the many washed away by the Tohoku disaster. The return of these sacred artifacts was a significant event, but it was also challenging. The Portland Japanese Garden organized fundraisers to cover the transportation costs, and the Kasagi were shipped back to Japan with the assistance of Yamato Transport USA and Pacific Lumber and Shipping. Upon their arrival in Japan in October 2015, a ceremony was held in Yokohama Bay Quarter to celebrate their return. The Kasagi were eventually refurbished and reinstalled at the Itsukushima Shrine, where they continue to stand to this day. Number 16. Japanese yen. In 2018, anglers were surprised when they had an unexpected catch. Instead of fish, they hauled something incredibly valuable instead: money. A fishing boat off the coast of Japan netted a bag containing about 11 million yen, or approximately 90,000 pounds or $145,000. It's believed that this bag was from the 2011 tsunami. The bag, filled with more than 10,000 yen notes, was retrieved from the bottom of the sea by a trawler. The fishermen who found it promptly reported their findings to local authorities, demonstrating commendable honesty and civic responsibility. While I would have done the same, a part of me would be tempted to keep the money for myself. After all, finders keepers, right? If the rightful owner does not claim the cash within 6 months, the money will be awarded to the fishermen who found it. However, determining the true finder, whether it's the ship's captain, the crew, or the ship's owner, may require a legal ruling. The update wasn't made public, or perhaps it was kept to the locals, so we're unsure who got the bag of money in the end. Number 15. Tsunami debris tracking. If you spot a massive bottle like this one while walking along the shore, you're not looking at a bizarre science project or a message in a bottle. These bottles with Japanese labels and floaters inside are called transponders. About 30 of these devices were put in the Pacific at different ports off Japan after the 2011 earthquake tsunami disaster. Their purpose: to help the authorities track the movement of debris from the oceans of Japan to North America. With over 1.5 million tons of debris washed out to sea, it was crucial for us to recover whatever we could from the ocean. Although years have passed since the disaster, it's still possible for you to come across these transponders while beachcombing. Number 14. Japanese dock. Now here's something completely unexpected. In June 2012, beachgoers were astonished to see an entire massive dock on Agate Beach in Newport, Oregon. I don't know about you, but that's beach debris that I never expected to see. It turned out that the dock wasn't an ordinary piece of debris. This concrete and steel dock measures 66 feet long and weighs around 165 tons. What's more unbelievable is the fact that the structure was ripped from its moorings by a devastating tsunami on March 11, 2011, in Japan. The dock's journey across the ocean shows just how immense the power of the waves were. It traveled over 4,000 miles, driven by ocean currents, until it finally landed on the Oregon coast. Needless to say, the cleanup needed for the dock was immense. Number 13. Oarfish. There's a chance that while walking on shore, you'll stumble upon a massive and monstrous fish. These monstrous creatures are known as oarfish, deep-sea-dwelling fish believed to be harbingers of doom in Japan. They're known as Ryugu no Tsukai, or messenger from the sea god's palace, because of the belief that they only appear when they're sending a message. Perhaps their monstrous appearance contributes to the belief surrounding them. You see, oarfish are long, ribbon-like fish that live at depths of up to 3,300 feet. They can grow up to 36 feet in length and are rarely seen near the surface. The belief that oarfish can foresee disasters, particularly earthquakes and tsunamis, is deeply rooted in Japanese folklore. The legend suggests that when these elusive creatures appear in shallow waters, it's a sign of impending natural calamities. This belief gained traction after several sightings of oarfish were reported before major earthquakes, including the 2011 Tohoku earthquake and tsunami in Japan. Scientists speculate that oarfish might be more sensitive to tectonic movements due to their deep-sea habitat. Kohsun Yamauka, an ecological seismologist, suggests that these fish could be reacting to the subtle shifts and stresses in the Earth's crust that often precede earthquakes. This idea aligns with other anecdotal reports of unusual animal behavior before seismic events, such as pets acting strangely or wildlife displaying unusual patterns. In one notable incident, 2 large oarfish were found on the beaches of the Philippines just before a magnitude 6.6 earthquake struck Luzon. Such occurrences have fueled the belief in their predictive abilities, though scientific consensus on this matter remains elusive. Number 12. Ghost ship. One of the most affected during tsunamis are those who are near coastal areas. Homes are destroyed, and boats, even massive ships, are at the mercy of ocean waves. The Rayuan Maru is just one of the many ships that got swept away during the 2011 Tohoku earthquake and tsunami. The Rayuan Maru, a fishing vessel measuring a staggering 164 feet long, was moored in Aomori Prefecture when the tsunami hit, sweeping it out to sea. For over a year, the vessel drifted, carried by the Kuroshio Current, until it was spotted by the Royal Canadian Air Force on March 20, 2012, off the coast of Haida Gwaii, British Columbia. It continued its eastward journey, eventually entering U.S. waters near Alaska. For a long time, it was a ghost ship, a watercraft floating without anyone on board. Naturally, this is considered a significant navigational hazard, and so on April 4, 2012, the U.S. Coast Guard dropped a tracking buoy aboard the Rayuan Maru to monitor its movements. When it was finally found, it was still in Alaskan waters. Initial attempts to remove the vessel were unsuccessful. When it was discovered by the Canadian fishing vessel Bernice C., a ruptured fuel tank made it unsafe to tow the Rayuan Maru. Given the potential danger the vessel posed to shipping lanes and the environment, the U.S. Coast Guard decided to sink the Rayuan Maru instead of trying to tow the ship. On April 5, 2012, the Coast Guard cutter Anacapa fired upon the ghost ship with a 25mm cannon, setting it ablaze. Once again, the Rayuan Maru showed just how resilient it was. Unlike other vessels of the same size, the ghost ship remained afloat for several hours. The Coast Guard then used fire hoses to fill the hull of the vessel with water, ultimately sinking it in waters over 6,000 feet deep, 180 miles off the Alaskan coast. Number 11. The Boat of Hope. In the wake of the devastating 2011 Tohoku earthquake and tsunami, a small fishing boat named Kamami embarked on an extraordinary journey across the Pacific Ocean. Kamami, which means seagull in Japanese, was a small boat that belonged to Takata High School in Rikuzen, Takata, a city severely impacted by the tsunami. On April 7, 2013, just over 2 years after the tsunami, Kamami washed ashore in Crescent City, California, over 4,000 miles away from its origin. The boat was discovered by local residents, including students from Del Norte High School, who were fascinated by its story. After spotting the name of the boat, it was easy for them to deduce where the boat came from. The Crescent City community then made it their mission to clean, restore, and return the boat. They contacted NOAA and the Japanese consulate to trace its origins and determine the best way to return it to Japan. This collaborative effort culminated in a heartwarming connection between Crescent City and Rikuzen, Takata. The return of Kamami was a significant event for both communities. In October 2013, the boat was transported back to Japan, where it was greeted by officials and students from Takata High School. The return of Kamami not only symbolized hope and recovery, but also forged a lasting friendship between the two schools and their respective communities. Del Norte High School and Takata High School established a sister-school relationship, fostering cultural exchange and mutual support, thanks to this serendipitous find. Number 10. Mysterious creature. Shortly after the tsunami that ravaged Japan, a mysterious creature washed up on a Japanese beach. The bizarre object was the same size and shape as a small whale, but its texture was close to that of a boulder or a large rock. Unfortunately, the photos weren't of the greatest quality. The onlookers were also incredibly cautious, leading them to observe the mystery object at a safe distance. The object wasn't moving, nor did it show any other signs of life, and so to this day, the real classification or identity of this mysterious creature or object remains unknown. Any guesses? Feel free to drop your guesses in the comments down below. Number 9. Village sign. In the aftermath of the devastating 2011 Tohoku earthquake and tsunami, a remarkable piece of debris made its way across the Pacific Ocean, ultimately washing ashore on Kahuku Beach in Oahu, Hawaii. What seemed like an unassuming piece of debris is actually a valuable wooden sign that was once part of the Japanese village of Tanahata. It read, Shimanokoshi Village Housing. The sign was originally discovered in September 2013, but the locals who discovered it were determined to return it. Soon enough, it became a symbol of international cooperation and goodwill. NOAA and the Hawaii Department of Land and Natural Resources collaborated with the Japanese consulate in Hawaii to trace the sign back to its origins. This was a significant effort, as identifying and returning tsunami debris required meticulous work and coordination. The sign's return journey to Japan was facilitated by Hawaiian Airlines, which flew it from Honolulu to Sendai Airport. There, a delegation from Tanahata Village greeted it, marking an emotional moment for the community that had been deeply affected by the tsunami. Hawaii Governor Neil Abercrombie emphasized that this gesture represented the ongoing concern and solidarity between the people of Hawaii and Japan, hoping it would provide a sense of renewal and hope for the future. And it did. Today, many people in Japan have yet to forget about the 2011 disaster, but slowly they're moving on from the tragedy. Number 8. Indonesian Ferry. In the wake of the devastating 2018 tsunami that struck the Indonesian island of Sulawesi, an extraordinary sight greeted the residents of Palu. An entire ferry had been washed ashore. This event occurred after a 7.5 magnitude earthquake hit the region, generating waves up to 2 meters high that wreaked havoc on the coastal areas. The tsunami, which struck on September 28, 2018, caused widespread destruction. The ferry, which had been anchored offshore, was carried inland by the powerful waves, coming to rest amidst the debris of collapsed buildings and other remnants of the disaster. The city of Palu, known for its picturesque beaches and growing tourism industry, bore the brunt of the disaster. Buildings crumbled, roads were blocked, and communications were severed, making the scale of the destruction hard to assess immediately. The suddenness of the tsunami, which followed the earthquake almost without warning, left residents and officials scrambling to rescue survivors and provide aid to the affected. Number 7. Knifejaw fish. You're looking at a knifejaw fish, also known as the tsunami fish. This species is native to the coastal waters of Japan, Korea, and China, and for some bizarre reason, they often get swept away by tsunami waves. The saga began when a Japanese fishing vessel, the Saisho Maru, was swept away by the powerful tsunami waves. For more than 2 years, the boat drifted across the Pacific Ocean, its partially submerged hull becoming a makeshift habitat for several marine species, including the barred knifejaw. On March 22, 2013, the vessel washed ashore on Long Beach, Washington, over 4,000 miles from its origin. These fish had survived by feeding on small invertebrates that floated in the boat's holds. Scientists were both astonished and concerned, as such a transoceanic journey for coastal species was unprecedented and raised potential ecological risks. Due to concerns about invasive species, 4 of the knifejaws were euthanized to prevent any ecological imbalance. The remaining fish were quarantined and later moved to the Seaside Aquarium in Oregon, where it became part of a public exhibit. The fish is now thriving in its new environment. All's well that ends well. Number 6. Mosque. In the heart of Banda Aceh, Indonesia, stands the Bitumen Grand Mosque, a remarkable symbol of resilience and faith. This historic mosque, originally built in the 19th century by the Dutch, miraculously withstood the devastating 2004 Indian Ocean tsunami, which claimed the lives of over 170,000 people in Aceh alone. When the tsunami struck on December 26, 2004, with waves as high as 21 meters, the Bitumen Mosque remained standing amidst the surrounding destruction. Its survival is often attributed to its sturdy construction, which features 7 grand domes and towering minarets designed to withstand natural disasters. Many locals see the mosque's endurance as a divine intervention, reinforcing its spiritual significance. In the chaotic days following the tsunami, the mosque served as a crucial refuge for survivors, providing shelter and a place to pray amidst the devastation. Now it's time for today's topic. After a massive tsunami struck the coastline of Tonga in 2022, residents of a small coastal village were left to deal with the devastation. Amid the wreckage and debris, something extraordinary washed ashore, capturing the attention of locals and scientists alike. The discovery was made early one morning by a group of beachcombers who were surveying the damage. To their astonishment, they stumbled upon the enormous, lifeless body of an unidentified sea creature sprawled across the sand. The creature, a gigantic octopus-like being with tentacles stretching over 30 feet, had a body that resembled a cross between a whale and an octopus. Its size and unusual features suggested it was not a species previously known to science. Local marine biologist Dr. Hannah Peters was called to the scene to examine the bizarre find. "This is unlike anything I've ever seen," she remarked, baffled by the creature's anatomy and sheer size. News of the discovery quickly spread, drawing curious onlookers and researchers from across the world. The beach, once a site of destruction, became a hotspot for speculation and wonder. As scientists began to study the creature, theories about its origins emerged. Some suggested it could be a deep-sea giant brought to the surface by the force of the tsunami. Others speculated it might be a remnant of a prehistoric era, hidden in the ocean's depths until now. Despite the excitement, some skeptics argued that the creature could be an elaborate hoax designed to attract media attention. However, initial examinations confirmed the authenticity of the find, leaving the scientific community eager for further analysis. As the mystery of the giant sea creature unfolded, it became a symbol of nature's unpredictability and the ocean's hidden depths, reminding everyone of the secrets still waiting to be discovered beneath the waves. Number 5. Soccer ball. In the midst of adversity, humanity shines through. When the 2011 Tohoku earthquake and tsunami hit, teenager Misaki Murakami, living in Rikuzentakata, Japan, was among the many who lost their homes. With his family at the mercy of the waves, he could only save himself. Misaki and his family lost nearly everything in the tsunami, including a soccer ball that had been a prized possession of his. It was given to him by his classmates in 2005 as a farewell gift when he transferred schools. The ball bore messages of encouragement and his name, making it highly sentimental. He had no choice but to leave it behind. After seeing the aftermath of the tsunami, he believed that he would never see the soccer ball again. But sometimes, life is incredibly unexpected. Miles away from Japan, months after the Tohoku earthquake, David Baxter, a radar technician from Ketchikan, Alaska, chanced upon a ball while beachcombing on Middleton Island, a remote location in the Gulf of Alaska. You guessed it right, this very ball belonged to Misaki. Luckily, David didn't dismiss the ball as simple debris. David took the ball to his wife Yumi, who was Japanese. Together, they managed to trace the inscriptions back to Misaki's school in Rikuzentakata. Later on, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, or NOAA, confirmed that the ball was indeed from the tsunami-hit area, making it one of the first identifiable items of debris to be traced back to its owner. Although David and his wife didn't deliver the ball to Misaki directly, they were happy to help reunite the boy with such a valuable and sentimental item. Number 4. 300 species. In the aftermath of the 2011 Tohoku earthquake and tsunami, debris wasn't the only thing washed from Japan to other parts of the world. Along with this debris, nearly 300 species of marine life from Japan embarked on an extraordinary journey across the Pacific, eventually reaching the shores of North America due to a phenomenon known as rafting. Organisms native to Japan hitched a ride on floating debris. Before the 2011 tsunami, such a large-scale biological rafting event was virtually unheard of. The debris included a variety of items, from fishing boats and docks to everyday objects like buoys, plastic bottles, and even refrigerators. These items provided stable, long-lasting surfaces for marine species to cling to during their multi-year journey. Researchers documented nearly 300 species that made the trip, including sea slugs, oysters, barnacles, and even fish. Some of these species, like the Japanese sea slug and various barnacles, were found still alive upon arrival on the west coast of the United States, from Alaska down to California. This discovery was significant as it demonstrated that these organisms could survive long periods in the open ocean, which was previously thought to be too harsh an environment for coastal species. However, this is bad news for those invaded by these invasive species. The introduction of non-native species to new environments can disrupt local ecosystems, potentially leading to invasive species problems. These species can compete with native organisms for resources, sometimes with detrimental effects. In fact, some places in the world continue to deal with these invasive and unwanted species brought by the disaster. Number 3. Harley-Davidson motorcycle. In April 2012, beachcomber Peter Mark was exploring the remote coast of Graham Island in British Columbia, Canada, when he stumbled upon a large storage container that had washed ashore. Now, he was no stranger to bizarre things getting washed ashore, being someone who often visited the beach, but it was the first time he stumbled upon such massive debris. What surprised him more, however, was the content of the storage container. After opening the relatively intact container, he found a severely rusted 2004 Harley-Davidson FXST Softail night train, still bearing its Japanese license plates. Although he had a hunch, Peter still did his research to ensure that the motorcycle he found was indeed from Japan. It turned out that it was one of the many items swept away during the catastrophic tsunami that struck Japan on March 11, 2011. Now, what's astonishing is that the container that housed the motorcycle literally floated over 4,000 miles across the Pacific Ocean before drifting ashore. The currents, including the Kuroshio, Oyashio, and the Alaska Current, played a crucial role in transporting this unlikely discovery from Japan all the way to North America. Now, what would you have done if you were the one who stumbled upon such a precious find? For Peter, the right thing to do was to let the authorities know and find the motorcycle's owner. Luckily, Harley-Davidson itself offered to help. Upon hearing about the lost motorcycle, the company located its owner using its vehicle identification number, VIN. Through this, the original owner was revealed. It turned out that the owner of the beloved Harley was a gentleman named Ikuo Yokoyama. Yokoyama had lost his home, family members, and many of his possessions in the disaster. Empathizing with Yokoyama, Harley-Davidson offered to restore his bike free of cost. But instead, Yokoyama requested that it be preserved as a memorial to the tragedy. He claimed that he wasn't the only one who lost everything they had in the disaster, and it would have felt unfair for him to be singled out and receive a gift. And so today, the motorcycle is displayed at the Harley-Davidson Museum in Milwaukee, serving as a painful yet still hopeful reminder of the tragedy. Number 2. An ancient city. The ancient city of Mahabalipuram, located on the southeastern coast of India in Tamil Nadu, is steeped in history. According to local myths, Mahabalipuram, also known as Mamalapuram, was once a grand city with 7 magnificent temples, 6 of which were believed to have been submerged by a jealous deity. On December 26, 2004, the catastrophic Indian Ocean tsunami surprisingly revealed this legendary city. As the tsunami waves receded, they revealed long-buried structures on the seabed near the shore of Mahabalipuram. Among the discoveries were remains of a temple structure and several granite sculptures previously hidden under layers of sand and silt. These included life-sized carvings of lions and elephants believed to be part of the port city that once thrived in this area. The exposed ruins included a square sanctum sanctorum, sections of walls, and other artifacts, which archaeologists linked to the Pallava dynasty that ruled the region between the 3rd and 9th century CE. Following these discoveries, underwater explorations conducted by the Archaeological Survey of India, in collaboration with other experts, have continued to investigate the submerged parts of the city. Number 1. Giant Lego Man. In October 2011, beachgoers in Sarasota, Florida, were greeted with an unexpected and puzzling sight. A giant 8-foot-tall Lego man washed ashore on Siesta Key Beach. The figure, weighing about 100 pounds, had a distinctive message emblazoned on its chest, "No real than you are," along with the name Ego Leonard on its back. This wasn't the first time such an occurrence had been reported. Similar giant Lego figures had previously appeared on beaches in Holland in 2007 and England in 2008. These mysterious arrivals have been linked to a Dutch artist known as Ego Leonard. The artist, whose work often explores themes of reality and virtual existence, has crafted these fiberglass figures as part of a larger artistic narrative. The appearance of the Lego Man in Florida coincided with the Sarasota Chalk Festival, which featured Lego-themed artwork. This timing led many to speculate whether it was a planned art installation or a marketing stunt. However, representatives from Legoland and its parent company, Merlin Entertainments Group, denied any involvement, emphasizing that the figure was not an official Lego product. Local resident Jeff Heineman discovered the figure during a morning walk. Authorities eventually transported the Lego Man away, but not before it captured the fascination of the public and media. Beachgoers took numerous photos and videos, further fueling the mystery and intrigue surrounding its origin. Ego Leonard himself responded to the discovery via email, expressing satisfaction with the figure's journey and newfound home. If unclaimed, the Lego Man would become Heineman's property after 90 days, and he mentioned plans to sell it on eBay.